Imagine investing in the next 10x crypto or AI boom. Not by hodling Bitcoin, but by owning the machines powering them both. I'm Michael Anthony, and today we're talking Hive Digital Technologies, a NASDAQ-listed pioneer that started as the first public crypto miner in 2017, then nearly accidentally pivoted into the AI data center world when ETH mining dried up. Joining me is Frank Holmes, renowned gold investment pioneer. Frank is the co-founder and executive chairman of Hive Digital Technologies. Frank and I dive deep into the state of Bitcoin mining, how Hive almost stumbled into AI, and why harnessing hydro from a massive 3-mile dam could change the game, and why he moved from the traditional gold investment world into Bitcoin and crypto mining and AI data centers. So if you're ready, smash that like to help send this to other people. Subscribe so you never miss an episode. And I really do appreciate your help and support it more than you'll ever know. It helps me be able to reach more people. Now, get ready, because we're starting this interview with Frank, yet Frank actually asking me how I got into crypto. So get ready and let's jump in. Kind of by accident, back in 2013.
Wow, you're early.
Yeah, and a buddy of mine called me up and was like, hey dude, you got there's this thing called Bitcoin, you gotta do it. It's gonna change the world. And I just looked into it a little bit and was like, it's either going to zero or it's gonna be $1 million a coin in my life. And so I put some money into it that I was like, it's not enough that I could put this in the stock market and it would do awesome and I wouldn't impact my retirement or I could put it in this and maybe have it impact me. A couple months later, it dropped 80% or whatever, and that just sent me down the rabbit hole of do I really believe in this? Since then, it's a great story. It's been the journey. And so now, with this channel, I just basically want to, there's so much shitty financial advice out there with people just shilling things and people talking about what they haven't walked and things of that nature. I just want to provide quality advice and insights into the markets, let people make their own decisions.
So I'm a registered money manager.
Okay.
So I was trying to launch the first crypto ETF in 2017 and realized it wasn't going to happen. This only happened last year.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going to happen. So I seeded and was a co-founder launching the first crypto mining company in the world. And that was Hive.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And
I'm going to stand
at the beginning, I was 6% of Ethereum's global network.
Yeah. So, okay. So yeah, talk to this, and we'll just roll into this here.
And I'm known for the world of gold. So sidestepping, honestly, Bitcoin was easy on that transformation.
Yeah, because you managed a highly successful gold fund for years and you won awards for it and things of that nature. So did you, because with Hive, and I didn't know if you were the actual first big scale miner, but I knew you were one of the innovators. And so talk us through a little bit. Did you see Bitcoin as digital gold immediately, or just an opportunity to generate some revenue?
It was for a demographics that was embracing digital money. My old school, baby boomers, are gold and silver coins. And the new generation were gamers. And those gamers were now adults. And the adults, we saw last year, had huge voting power. They put a lot of money behind Trump.
Yeah.
But we go back 10 years ago, they was in high school. And it's to recognize this sort of generational shift. And they grew up in 2001 was the first game that actually gave you the metaverse and you could get money. You had digital money back then. So you got kids. They figure at the age of 14 years old, they can't open a bank account. They can't open an account at Schwab, but they found a way to open an account at some exchange and got their Ethereum sold. And when they went to bed, they turned their GPU chips on the mining Ethereum. And that was a sort of a revelation that these young minds were even coders and gamers. And that's what we're living with now. These people are old coders and old gamers. And the concept of, you look in Dallas, a lot of early Bitcoiners, they're telecom. Well, why telecom? Because the blockchain was created for telecom. It was a digital timestamp in 91.
Okay.
So if anyone tinkered with the original blockchain,
Okay.
they immediately knew. So if I went to send you money, no one knew it was between the two of us, but they basically knew.
They knew X amount went from A to B.
And what they didn't have was Napster came along
Yeah.
and showed peer-to-peer is valuable. And then SHA 256 by the Defense Department gave the algorithm to protect that no one can hack it.
Okay.
So you can see the layers.
Putting all that together.
And then we have the games coming out. So NVIDIA comes out, I think, like 99 with the GeForce chip, which revolutionizes gaming. And those GeForce chips became what they are now, H200s for AI. But it all started with gamers.
With gaming. So we can thank gamers for transforming the world.
Absolutely. And if you look at stocks like out of China, one of the most successful companies to knock off like an Amazon was the gamification. When you went to buy something, you had to have more than one person but buying, and you could buy the toilet paper cheaper. So you had a game that what you bid on and how much you're going to buy, and the bigger you're going to buy, the more toilet paper you're going to buy or soap, then the bigger the discount. So there's gamification is really important, the psychology of people.
Okay.
So Robinhood is remarkable because you open an account and it gives you 3 opportunities. So you pay A, B, or C, and you get 1 share of a stock under $5.
Yeah,
That's a gain.
it is.
So gamifications all comes from the gaming ecosystem.
Are you familiar? They haven't launched yet, but have you heard of Euphoria?
No, just to watch the perfume.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No. Watch for that. That's a gamification on trading.
Oh,
That's coming out. So
I launched a new product called War.
okay.
It's an India.
In what year?
This year.
Oh.
This year, and it hasn't been phased. It's up. I mean, Trump going after all this stuff because it's AI to rebuild our military, and all those stocks did exceptionally well. So there's something going on with the military spend.
Yeah.
Doji comes in to streamline things, etc. But there's a book called The Wisdom of Crowds. So one is a crowd wise, and one is a group think foolish.
Okay.
And if they're all taking advice from one person or one place, then you don't have different opinions. So you need to have diversity of opinions. And you need a betting machine like the stock exchange that says, oh, the average price, that's what the bet's on. So remember last year we had all the bets of who's going to win the election?
Yeah.
And that was on the blockchain?
Yeah.
So that is the Wisdom of Crowds model. So wonderful book by John Sawicki.
Okay.
And it was so funny because he was so frustrated.
To me, I feel sad that more Democrats and left-leaning individuals aren't in this space. It's like
Our lawyer's a big Democrat and he's so long Bitcoin.
it's not any one side. This is a human transformation.
And the nice part was the Republicans discovered it. That Trump at the first go around, he was anti-Bitcoin.
Was.
And all of a sudden, because it's liberty, because it's by private property, and they saw what the government tried to do against him and take away his property rights, his assets, his freedom. So how do you protect yourself outside of these attacks becomes Bitcoin.
I didn't connect that. That makes total sense. Okay, so Hive was a significant Ethereum miner. And then a few years ago, they had the fork and, or not the fork, they just
Went to the dark
changed.
side.
Yeah, and now it's proof of stake. And so there is no more mining. Yet Hive had all these CPUs that were sitting there geared for Ethereum. And what did you guys end up doing with that?
Well, we're so big, we didn't realize beginning of looking at other alternative coins, new proof of work coins, but we're the whale. And so it looks really attractive return on invested capital mining.
Yep.
But you're too big. So you have to nibble. So we started using AI to go through 10 different coins, whoever had, and just be a little bit of each.
Okay.
And we made money that way. It was, but not as much as we made money in Ethereum. But we had a special deal with NVIDIA that our chips, Hut 8 could only buy chips to mine Ethereum. We were able to buy chips that did it to AI. So early on. So we now have 10,000 clients that don't want to go through AWS or Azure where they get locked up for 2-year agreements.
Okay.
They can get rent by the hour from us.
For AI processing.
You got to fund them by the university or some VC funded you for $3 million. You're going to develop this. Then you can quickly come use our system and not be stuck to this. And as the ecosystem is growing, we're growing with it.
Guys, talk about a pivot and a brilliant opportunity. Now, where do you see in 5 years or 10 years the percentage of crypto mining
to AI, ecosystem? Where do you see that?
No, I think the Bitcoin mining is so important in being the most economical way to find stranded electricity. Hive was being the first crypto mining company, was first to balance the grid. Riot does it now in Texas, so that's where they make most of their money. But we were doing this early in Sweden.
Wow. And if someone's watching and balancing the grid, what does that mean in simple
It
terms?
means that there's all this wasted energy, and when everyone turns on their toaster in the morning, there's a drain on the energy. So we could take 30 megawatts and go to the 3 megawatts in 15 seconds. So all the hot water is on, everyone's having a shower in northern Sweden, the toasters are on, everyone's getting ready to go to work or school. 9 o'clock, all of a sudden there's surplus energy. We come right back up and we start mining, and then the locals, the community, gets this energy, they get money for it. So it creates an economic viability for the local community, and it creates for us a green energy, and that's been our strategy. But we had a real slowdown in our growth when Putin invaded Ukraine, because you won't believe what happened. Energy even in New Zealand went up, energy all over the world. And there's a new buzzword in data centers that's come out, sovereign. So we think of the sovereign coin as a sovereign, it's a gold coin, it's a silver coin. And the concept of saying, oh, that's my electricity, I've got to protect it. So now we're seeing the state of Texas, the government doesn't want their data centers in Louisiana.
No.
And Americans don't want it in Canada. Yeah. The Swedes don't want it.
Canada doesn't want it in.
So everything's become sovereign. So we saw this protectionism ripple around the world, protecting green energy. We saw it in Canada, and we saw it there. So we're going through the lull, and we're slowly growing our business. And we saw that the other companies came along behind us, and they grew faster what they did. And we weren't in America because we're only green. The best place for us to look for green was New York State had old aluminum plants that had surplus energy, but the state was anti anything crypto, anti-mining. So we weren't going to go there.
Yeah.
And so that it evolved, you can see it. And then along comes Paraguay.
Yes. Okay. I'm glad you're bringing, guys, this is huge.
Yeah, Paraguay is transformative for Hive because we're going to go we're more than 1% of the network now, and we'll be
Of the Bitcoin network.
the global network. We are growing from 6 exahash to 25 in the next 6 months, but we've already fast-tracked and said we're at 9.5. That means that our daily revenues are 450,000 a day, but we only have 25 employees, how we manage it. And so you have this small nucleus, I call the Navy SEALs. We function in 9 time zones, 5 languages, and we always get rated by Anti-Power as the most efficient miners. So we're very good at what we do, but we're only green. So it's been
So only green meaning
renewable energy. You can come from wind, it can come from solar, but if you only have wind and solar, you have a crisis like you had in Spain. So you just can't rely on it because most of that energy is when the sun is up.
Yeah.
And so therefore you don't have this inertia of the energy always flowing. Hydro water is always flowing.
And that's in Paraguay.
And Paraguay is the largest dam in the Western Hemisphere. It is 3 miles long. It's where the famous movie that was called The Mission, which the Vatican says is one of the top 50 movies to watch. It's a true story. And Anthony Irons is in it. Robert De Niro's in it.
Wow.
So it's a famous movie, but it's all about these waterfalls where they put a poor priest over as a crucifix over the waterfalls. He lives. So he comes back as a messiah with the Indians, and Paraguay is created. But Paraguay is really special because I did not know that the Monroe Doctrine in America was like 1830s. It was about making Latin America an important part of America, the US. And there was a crisis of a tri-war with Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay trying to wipe out Paraguayans and take over their land. It's the richest soil in the world. It's really rich. So there was basically genocide of all men, boys, like 80% were wiped out. And President Hayes from America solved the problem. And Paraguay existed today because of President Hayes.
Really?
And so they have a state in Paraguay called Hayes State, and they celebrate November the 12th as the day that they are Paraguayans because of America. They love America, unlike Venezuela, unlike Colombia now. there's this real love and respect for America. The president there is a young guy. He's 46 years old. He was at Trump's inauguration along with Malay.
Yeah.
And so it's a great business opportunity for us because there's 10 gigawatts of electricity, 5 for Brazil, 5 for Paraguay. If Paraguay doesn't use it, they goes to Brazil.
Right.
So they were buying it and for like wholesale price and selling it to Argentina, but Argentina didn't pay. So they went from no pay to last year they finally got half of the money to slow pay, but we pay every month. So what happens with Bitcoin miners is we come in and we have to build the substation, $15 million for 100 megawatts. That's okay. We build the substation, we build the campus data center, and they get US dollars every month. So today, Hive is the largest foreign direct investor this year in Paraguay. We will be the largest consumer of electricity. We will be using 300 megawatts of electricity, and we'll be producing something like 12 Bitcoin a day. For a micro cap, we look at it, our revenue...
12 just in Paraguay a day or 12 total?
12 total, but most of it's going to be meat plus. So we'll be doing a 400 million run rate a year, and so we are... The big talk here is we have the highest growth rate of all the Bitcoin miners in 2025. And it's all because of the opportunity in Paraguay. What came up, we had 100 megawatts, and then Bitfarms, they had a position change. They bought Stronghold in America, and they wanted to focus on America. The new CEO, and so he wanted out of Paraguay. So we bought it for a great deal, and that all of a sudden took us not just to 15, it takes us to 25.
Wow.
So
That's significant.
and then I think we'll double from there again. And there has to be, you can't put in high performance computing there yet because they need fiber optics. It's very complex. People don't realize that a data center tier 1 for Bitcoin mining to tier 3 is $10 million per megawatt of electricity per tier 3. For Bitcoin mining, it's 1 million.
So it's 10 times.
10 times. The chips are like 40 times. So you're talking $35,000, $40,000 a chip. These are expensive chips. We've been using the NVIDIA chips, and we've been using them in Stockholm and Montreal, and it's throwing up $1 million a month free cash flow, and it's growing at a nice, consistent pace with our unique little team.
And now you guys, you're based in Canada, but U.S. investors can invest through NASDAQ.
Yeah.
Hive, H-I-V-E.
But because of Trump,
Okay.
we moved the head office to Texas.
Really?
Yes. And so therefore it qualifies to go into ETFs. And so what you can see what happened last year, what happens when you go in, like Palantir went to NASDAQ to get in the QQQ, and it jumped 80%. We saw with Coinbase jump 16 billion 2 weeks ago going into the S&P 500. Maybe a strategy, MicroStrategy, it should be qualified to go into the S&P 500. Well, that would just double it.
Yeah. I mean, there's
So
validity.
there's so much liquidity that's in those. There's so many people tied to it. So what we found is that we have to be in the U.S. So we have just a small group of people in San Antonio, Texas, where I live.
Okay.
All the intellectual capital is in Montreal and Toronto and in Sweden.
So do you see with the administrative change in the White House, do you as the chairman of the board for Hive, is the U.S. becoming intriguing, or is there...
It's safe.
It's okay, so you see it as safe now.
It's safe.
And regardless, do you think it will ever flip back?
I mean,
We never know, but
I think the Democratic political party realized they made a big error in not reading the tea leaves. All those kids that they were just going to vote who's going to support Bitcoin. And that was a big sea change because it didn't matter. They voted with their wallet. And over $100 million went to fund this administration. I think the Democrats, it's a wake-up call, and all of a sudden, they're going to have a way to participate in this global digital transformation we're all going through.
So where do you see Hive, as we wrap this up, where do you see Hive in 5 years? Like what's the ideal thing Hive has done either as a company and exerting influence over the industry?
So if you see Hive, we're the first to do a chip with Intel. We did our own chip. Yeah, with an ASIC chip because we're green. So we've really stayed focused. NVIDIA likes that we're green. We see that our high performance computing data center is going to go exponential. Okay. And we know that our Bitcoin We have a growth path to 25 and then to 50. Right now, we're building 25.
Yeah.
And it's funded. The bulk of it's all funded. So we're in a sweet spot. What happens in the gold world, because that's where I'm known for the gold stocks, when you're a 100,000 ounce gold producer, when you're 50,000 and you go over 100, institutions all of a sudden re-rate you. They pay more for that same ounce of gold production. And then when you become a 500,000 ounce gold producer, you go through another re-rating. And when you produce 1 million ounces of gold, there's not many, you go through this other big re-rating. So if you look at Marathon and CleanSpark, you would see, right, they have a bigger production profile, so they have a bigger institutional fallout. We will be there in 6 months that we will go through that institutional re-rating. And I think that that's just exciting for shareholders.
That is very exciting. So closing comment, there's so many people out there that, gold, Bitcoin, it's a Ponzi, it's Fugazi. What would you say to someone? I personally am of the belief it's a yes and, it's not an either or, but what would you say to someone who is just stuck on gold and they say, Bitcoin is a Fugazi?
Now, I would say that gold is about preservation of wealth.
Correct.
Bitcoin is preservation and growth. So a lot of gold investors are what they call the fear trade. The government's going to devalue the currency. There's wars, there's tariffs, all this uncertainty that gold is an asset class to protect me with that. Bitcoin has that also because it has scarcity, but it has this early adoption that gives us growth. So it excites greed DNA. And with that comes more capital, comes more innovation. The Web3 ecosystem is going to boom in America. The next 4 years is going to be boom time in VC's funding. We're going to see AI being applied to trading Bitcoin. You're going to see it for building better data centers besides nuclear. We're going through this big transformative time period. So I think that Hive is in a position to help countries like Paraguay fast track. Government's got stable money. We're happy for the shareholders. They got relatively attractive electricity prices. That we could be a $50 stock. I mean, that's the potential because the money going into data centers is not going to stop. And I said earlier, sovereign. What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is digital sovereign money. It's my personal private property. And I can put it in a wallet, take it off the computer grid, but it's mine. And the concept of private property is very big in countries of common law, but especially America. Whereas in other countries, you find it's not. And I think the big transformative part this year is going to be the ability for all the big banks to go into stable coins. Why do I say that? My experience in mutual funds was when I first moved to America in 1990, was money market funds where if you got a big money market fund, all your other equity funds use the money market funds to go back and forth.
Okay.
So you saw Schwab and Vanguard, they have big money market funds where people go back and forth their equity, now their Bitcoin ETF, but they're always in a cash position. So the stable coin is going to become that. And the success of Bitcoin is $2 trillion of no CEO and the whole Web3. Think of stable coins come on the backbone of that success. But look at Tether. Tether has more than 300 million wallets. When we leave America, everyone wants a US dollar. And that means their average account size is $4,000, that's all. They want that money outside of the government because in Zimbabwe, 10 times they confiscated your US dollar bank account. Argentina just finally went to a quasi-float, but in 2002, they confiscated all your US dollars. So you see outside of America, all these other countries, they want US dollars. That is also a big flood when the money center banks get into the stablecoin business. That's more than $140 billion. It will be humongous. And that will all of a sudden, you know what? I should own Bitcoin because it has scarcity.
Yeah.
It has what gold has for a lot of investors. It has that scarcity, but Bitcoin's more scarce. And my age of wealth is going to be passed on to your age, and your age and younger is much more digital savvy. So there's going to be a huge transfer of trillions of dollars of wealth into the digital realm.
Yeah.
And that's what we see.
So Frank, thank you so much.
Thank you, Nick.
It really is an honor. Guys, Hive, check them out on the NASDAQ. It's the future.